I still see the glint of the auditorium lights sweeping across the mock-polished floors of my high school gym, feel the slight buzz beneath my skin that comes from hope and dread blending inside your chest. The principal's speech dragged on forever, overly earnest, full of cliches about the bright futures blossoming under our woolen robes. I sat, index finger tracing the ridge of my program, waiting for that tiny flicker of a moment to feel seen. What I remember best isn't my turn at the microphone, nor the ritual walk to the stage, but the way Mom's laughter exploded, uncontained, when I finally said it out loud. My dream is to design the sounds that shape the stories we love, the worlds of movies, games, and music, I said, gripping the mic a little too tight. I want to make people hear things they've never imagined. A pause. Two claps, some awkward coughs, and then from midway down the bleachers where my family clustered together, Mom's sharp laughter sigh, bigger than the moment, big enough to stop the room. Nadia, what does that even mean? She called out, a little too loud, not trying to hide her ridicule. I was 17, foggy with hope, and in that second I pretended not to understand. It means sound designer, I said, feeling my voice quaver, but my words vanished beneath the quick, awkward shuffling and the whispers from classmates who never missed a chance to roll their eyes. That was the moment, the one I kept coming back to. The one where I should have stopped talking. Instead I forced out, I'll live in Los Angeles, I'll work on things you've heard of. My voice thin, the kind of thin that phrased the end of dreams. When the ceremony ended, ribbons everywhere, everyone bustling around to take photos, nobody came to find me. My Uncle Stan caught my eye for a second. We just want you to do something real, kid, then turned away to take a family photo with my cousins. They were pure college-bound material, business, pre-med, computer science. I slipped out the side door and sat in the shade, letting the California dusk swallow me whole. 3 months later, I boarded a Greyhound bus for LA with a duffel bag and a battered laptop, $350 discreetly crumpled in my wallet. The ticket had been one way because I couldn't let myself look back, not really. I wandered between sublets, a Venice garage, a Koreatown micro studio, and took a barista job 3 weeks in. The city screamed around me. Sirens and skateboards, voices in languages I pinched like fabric samples as I walked to the night shift. In every space, I carried my battered knockoff headphones, making mixes and field recordings on weekends, stringing the pieces into early demos nobody listened to but me. Sometimes I'd call home, sometimes Mom picked up, her voice slightly pinched. That's nice, Nadia, but when are you going to start college? They have programs here, Mom, I'd say. You can learn on the job just like I'm doing. A beat. If you run out of money, there's still a spot for you here, you know. If you decide to stop playing, you could be a teacher like your Aunt Layla, or, well, something secure. I'd thank her, hang up, and feel the loneliness break against me like incoming surf. At work after, I'd snag the dish pit alone, just to savor the muffled world of plates and rushing water, the little sonic world I could control. Nobody in LA understood more than my name spilled across cheap resumes over and over. I sent emails, internship applications, demo links into digital silence. For every 10 messages, maybe one got a cliched "sorry but" reply. Years passed. Ramen for months, then mac and cheese from the dollar store, then maybe a real sandwich when tips surged. I kept at it, recording subway turns, the slosh of boxed wine, bikes rolling on tar. I layered them into snippets of soundscapes, posted anonymously online, offering freebies to student filmmakers and podcasters I found through endless forums. Sometimes their projects let me stay up until 3 a.m., perfecting the crunch of shoe leather, the warmth of static under whispered dialogue. But nothing big, nothing that made me real. One spring, maybe 5 years after graduation, I landed a call from a producer on an indie horror game. A friend of a friend heard my samples and needed someone fast. For 3 months I lived on tea and adrenaline, praying my $160 speaker monitors wouldn't short out before deadline. I worked in a closet, layering breathing metal whines, hollowed echoes I recorded in my bathtub. The game hit Steam and tanked, but a senior designer messaged me after, offering contract work for a VR short. That work reached someone else. Then a composer needed footsteps, a documentary paid me for chirping cicadas, and for the first time in years I cleared rent without tips. But still nothing I could name, nothing I'd dare tell my family about. They'd only crash it down, call it a project, like it was some childish summer camp skit. Life in LA had its slow cycles. Winters sometimes brought a whiff of rain and cloud, and I'd walk the blocks around Silver Lake, feeling like the sounds of the city were singing just for me. Dogs barking sharp, a skateboard's erg down a cracked curb, distant mariachi leaking through alleyways. These things soothed. I saw people hustling, actors rehearsing lines at coffee tables, painters trundling across sidewalks with rolled-up canvases. We lived half dream, half hunger, but each win, even a little gig, turned into hope. In my 6th year, I worked nights on a nature doc series for a streaming platform. I fused together hours of ocean wave sounds with edited gull calls, helped the director invent an underwater rainforest by blending dolphin chatter, distorted cello tones, and my own mouth pops. I was credited with 6 episodes. When the nomination came, I found out through an email I almost deleted as spam. Congratulations to the sound team of Ocean Dreaming. It wasn't an Oscar, but a Regional Guild Award, and a new project offer in my inbox the same afternoon. I updated my portfolio, cobbled together my IMDb page, Nadia Elia's sound design. For the first time ever, my name was attached to something real, but my stomach clenched when I realized that to everyone back home, it would mean nothing. Nature show, is that a job now? I could already hear the tone, flat and unimpressed. And then, out of nowhere, I was asked to co-design for Chasing Night, a sci-fi audio drama starring real actors with studio money and distribution. Interviews, design meetings, test mixes, I was in. I worked harder than I ever had, barely sleeping, listening to the world in ways I never imagined. That show went big. A reporter called my phone asking about the artist behind the Sonic universe. Over the next month, my DMs filled up with grand, unfamiliar names. That year, I won an industry award. I walked the stage in a suit I borrowed, shaking slightly, gold-embossed card in hand, and then something shifted in me, a pull I'd resisted for years. I wanted to show my family. I wanted not revenge, but a sort of re-meeting. Maybe underneath it all, I wanted home again. They planned the reunion for late July, 10 years since high school graduation, but it felt like 20. Little Armin, my nephew now 13, was taller than me. My cousin Sarah was finishing law school. Uncle Stan had lost some hair but not his voice. I arrived at Mom's house with my headphones looped around my neck, carrying nothing but a small duffel. The orange trees in the yard were older, branches heavy with too much fruit, some left to rot. Mom came to the porch and hugged me, her arms strangely tight for a moment before she let go. We stood awkwardly in the kitchen. She made tea. When she asked about LA, she spoke slow, careful, as if I might turn to powder if she pressed too hard. It's busy, I said, keeping my answers half honest. But it's where I want to be. Later, after dinner, the living room filled up with relatives. Kids sprawled on the rug, grown-ups pressed into mismatched chairs, cushions littering the floor. That old nervousness, the feeling of performing before an audience eager to catch me failing, crept back in. Uncle Stan asked without much malice, "So how's your soundtrack thing going, Naddie?" I thought of dodging, but somehow I didn't want to. "I brought something to share," I said, voice clearer than I felt. My hands trembled as I set up my laptop, connecting to their big TV. For once, nobody heckled. A strange hush settled. I pulled up an episode of Chasing Night, skipping to the segment I'd crafted for weeks, the evacuation sequence. The silence inside that room felt impossibly loud to me as I pressed play. The story unfolded in the dark. Speakers filling with the whine of starship engines starting, the heartbeat pulse of alarms, footsteps scrambling down echoing metal corridors. My sounds, layer upon layer, every hum and hiss and trembling note built by my hands. Dialogue gave way to chaos, a hull breach, someone weeping, the hush before an explosion. The tension twisted, then dissolved. The last few seconds faded to the soft, gentle hum of artificial rain through battered vents, my favorite piece. The credits rolled, nobody spoke. In the silence, I tried to swallow the lump in my throat. Were they unmoved? Did they understand? Then Armin blurted, "That was so cool. It sounds like a real movie, but in your head." His eyes shone with startled awe. Uncle Stan, for once, wasn't joking. "That was you, all those noises, a whole ship, all the layers. You made that." "Every sound but the voices," I said, quiet. Mom was crying, but I didn't know if it was pride or regret or maybe just everything tangled in a knot. "When you said you'd make the things people hear," she said, voice rough, "I didn't understand. Maybe I still don't, but that's something." The room warmed, my chest loosened, some heavy knot untying itself for the first time in a decade. A flurry of questions came. What did it take to make that? Could I show them more? Sarah wanted to know if I worked with famous people. Aunt Layla asked about other episodes. Even the youngest cousin, who normally talked only about baseball, leaned in and asked if I ever added secret sounds just for fun. I let them ask, answering slowly, giving voice to a decade's work. The nights spent letting mouth-blown pops become machinery, the way one wrong echo could break a whole scene. I described meeting actors, learning to make thunder from shaking steel sheets, finding music inside a city's refuse and rush. For the first time, they weren't mocking me, they were listening, chasing every detail, searching for a thread they could hold. When the questions slowed, Mom touched my hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered, barely audible. "I didn't know it was real. I thought I was protecting you, but maybe I was just afraid." Her words trembled, brittle at the edges. I shook my head. "It's okay, I almost gave up 100 times, but I couldn't. I had to know if I could do it." We sat in that newfound quiet, the audio cue of my childhood home, the hum of the refrigerator, distant voices of neighbors, the soft wheeze of the air vent in July heat filling the space. I drank in every note. I stayed a few days. Each morning I woke up to sun cutting across my childhood room, the faint scent of laundry and oranges. I walked the neighborhood with Mom, met Sarah for coffee, sat through Uncle Stan's long-winded stories. They stopped calling my work funny stuff. Instead, Mom told neighbors, "My daughter, she does movies, you know. Real movies." Her pride felt hesitant and immense, two currents flowing together. One afternoon I slipped into my old closet, half expecting to find ancient shoes, the sketchy boom box I used for my first field recordings. Instead, there was only a dusty box of cassette tapes, half labeled in my own handwriting. I listened to one, a childhood project, a clumsy soundscape of rain and footsteps made at 12, so basic, so earnest. Even then, I'd been building worlds from scraps. That evening, as dusk gathered, Mom watched me fiddle with my phone, capturing the wind in the orange trees, the rattle of sprinklers. She smiled softly. "Still searching for sounds," she teased. "Always," I said. That last night, as my family circled me with stories and small gifts to take back, I realized that I was no longer that kid on a high school stage, unsure of herself, waiting for permission to matter. The room brimmed with old memories, yes, but something in the air had changed. The edges were softer, warmer. Before I left, Mom pressed a folded note into my palm. Later, on the bus back to LA, I opened it. Her handwriting shaky, but every word clear. "I'm proud of you. You taught me something about dreams. Don't stop chasing the sounds only you can hear." Wind thrummed in my ears through the crack in the window. Beyond the glass, LA waited, dusty and bright and full of voices rising like music. I'd left once with hope and grief my only companions. Now, as my home faded behind me, I felt what I hadn't in years. Something like wholeness, reconstructed from pieces I built myself. And all around me, new sounds, the memory of laughter, the pulse of tires on road, the soft hush of expectation, ready to be gathered, layered, made real.